Three dirty ways narcissists always end relationships. You didn't imagine the love. You didn't fake the connection. What you gave was real. But what they gave, it was a performance. Narcissists don't end relationships like normal people. They don't sit down, have honest conversations, and walk away with dignity. No. They deploy dirty tactics. They create confusion. They devastate. They make sure they walk away with your confidence shattered and your mind spinning. But today, we expose their game, because when you see the truth, you can reclaim your peace. You can take your power back, and you can't rise like fire from the ashes. Three dirty ways narcissists always end relationships, delivered in the energetic, emotionally intense style you asked for. Each keynote is now fully expanded into a 15-paragraph deep dive with no ending summary points, just the raw message delivered in a punch-up. Power, pain, and purpose. Keynote 1. The sudden disappearance, the ghost that shatters reality. You thought you mattered. You thought this connection was built on something real. You gave your time, your heart, your vulnerability, and then one day, they vanished. No message, no goodbye, just gone. Like a ghost in the night. That's not closure. That's emotional sabotage disguised as silence. What you just experienced wasn't an accident. It wasn't someone needing space. It was a psychological strike. A cold, calculated move designed to do one thing, make you feel powerless. That silence wasn't empty, it was deafening, and the question that screams in your head is, why? But that's part of the trap. They didn't just ghost you to avoid conflict. They ghosted you to maintain control. It's a disappearing act, yes, but with twisted intentions. See, when they vanish without a trace, they plant a seed of self-doubt. That seed grows roots in your mind, and suddenly, you're not just hurt. You're questioning your sanity. You play back every conversation, every argument, every kiss. Was it all fake? Were you too needy, too trusting, too blind? You start blaming yourself. You punish your own soul for someone else's manipulation. And in that moment, they win. Their silence is designed to be louder than any words they could say. It's a weapon, because if they truly spoke the truth, you'd see right through them. If they gave you answers, you'd see their weakness. But in disappearing, they maintain the illusion of power. They become an enigma, and enigmas are hard to release. But here's the truth. People don't disappear from relationships. They walk out. But narcissists don't walk. They erase. They don't want to be remembered as flawed. They want to be remembered as mysterious, as the one that got away. And that's sick, because it robs you of peace. They leave your heart bleeding, your phone cold, and your mind racing in circles. And just when you think you're over it, a memory drags you back in. That's the aftershock of being ghosted. It's not about missing them. It's about the human brain's need for resolution. The brain hates open loops. When someone walks away with no closure, they leave behind an emotional echo, a haunting. It plays on repeat. What if? Why not? Was I not enough? But none of those questions are yours to answer, because none of them are rooted in your truth. They're rooted in their dysfunction. You don't heal by getting closure from them. You heal by giving clarity to yourself. They left not because you were unworthy, but because they never planned to finish what they started. They were there to feed off your energy, and when the supply ran dry, they vanished. That's not love. That's parasitism wrapped in charm. That's abandonment masked as self-preservation. And it's devastating because it wasn't just a breakup. It was a mental ambush. They didn't just leave, you were erased. Like your existence didn't matter. But you did matter, and you still do. They couldn't handle your light. They couldn't deal with your truth. And when the facade cracked, they ran. Because narcissists aren't looking for partners. They're looking for mirrors that reflect back a version of themselves they can admire. When you stopped being that, they disappeared. So now, here you are, not broken, but awakening, not lost, but rerouting, because what they stole in silence, you reclaim in truth. You will not live haunted, you will live reborn. The smear campaign. They kill your character to save their image. When a narcissist ends a relationship, it's never a clean cut. It's a crime scene, and you're the one they make look guilty. They don't just leave you. They leave behind a twisted story, a version of you that never existed, and they broadcast it to the world like it's gospel. It starts subtly, a whisper here, a suggestion there. I tried everything, but they were just too unstable. I loved them, but they were toxic. They wear the mask of the victim so well that even you might start believing it. That's how masterful their distortion is. They don't just rewrite history, they burn it down. Why do they do this? Because a narcissist has one sacred thing, their image. They will sacrifice truth, loyalty, and decency to protect that image. If people start to question their behavior, they lose control. If you start telling the truth, they risk exposure, so they smear you before you speak. It's preemptive damage control. They lie first so your truth looks like revenge. They spin the narrative so that if you ever speak out, you sound bitter, jealous, or crazy. And the most dangerous part, they do it with charm. They poison people with a smile. You see mutual friends pulling away. You hear your name twisted in conversations you never had, and you realize your character has been assassinated, not by facts, but by fabrication. And the hardest part, the silence of those who once stood by you. The smear campaign isn't about you. It's about their fear. They are terrified of being seen for what they are. So they make sure you're the villain in a story they created to survive the spotlight. They paint you with every flaw they carry inside. They'll say you were abusive when they were the ones gaslighting. They'll say you cheated while they were entertaining others. They'll say you were dramatic while they were pushing every emotional button they could find. It's projection dressed up as storytelling, and it hurts. It burns like betrayal, because you didn't just lose a relationship. You lost your reputation in circles that once embraced you, but you don't fight fire with fire. You fight it with truth because the lie is loud. But your integrity is louder. It's tempting to defend yourself, to correct every rumor, to scream your innocence. But that's what they want. They want you reactive. They want you unstable. Because every angry post or emotional breakdown becomes more proof for their narrative. But the most powerful rebuttal is composure. Truth doesn't need an army. It just needs time. Time reveals patterns. Time reveals character. Time reveals who was real and who was performing, and when it does, they'll realize they backed the wrong story. So while they talk, you transform. While they lie, you level up. Because you don't need to be vindicated by gossip. You are validated by growth. You don't chase the crowd. They'll come around when the dust settles, because real always rises. This isn't the end of your identity. It's the beginning of your clarity. Let them smear. Let them spin. The ones who matter will feel the difference between your energy and their narrative. And the ones who don't, let them go. Because your character was never built for their comfort. It was built for truth. Switch up from lover to stranger to enemy. It starts with fireworks. They make you feel seen, adored, chosen. You're the center of their universe. The connection feels cosmic, like destiny finally smiled on you. They shower you with praise, gifts, time, attention. They make promises with their eyes and wrap your soul in illusions, and then everything changes. Suddenly, the same person who once couldn't go a day without hearing your voice becomes cold, distant, unreachable. You wonder, did I do something wrong? But here's the trap. You're asking questions based on love, but they operate based on control. This switch-up isn't random, it's rehearsed. You see, the narcissist's love isn't real, it's a performance. Once the show is over, once you start to need honesty or connection or emotional depth, they begin the exit, not with words, but with withdrawal. They pull back, not because you changed, but because you started to see them. They don't end it cleanly. That would mean taking responsibility. Instead, they confuse you. One day hot, one day cold. One message full of longing, the next day complete silence. They keep you emotionally hostage. Every time you think it's over, they throw you a crumb of affection to reel you back in. This is the switch-up strategy. It's psychological warfare. One moment you're their soulmate, the next you're a burden. 1 minute they're planning forever. The next they need space, but space never ends. It becomes a graveyard of unspoken goodbyes, and as you stumble through the confusion, trying to piece together what's real, they prepare for their final act, emotional detachment. They don't just lose interest, they erase their own emotional footprint. They devalue everything they once praised. You're no longer the prize. They make you feel like a problem. This transformation breaks something deep inside, because it's not just rejection. It's betrayal of the highest order. How can someone flip so fast? How can the person who made you Feel like royalty, now treat you like you're invisible. That confusion is the wreckage of narcissistic abuse. They weaponize your emotions against you. If you cry, they call you dramatic. If you speak up, you're called crazy. If you go silent, they label you cold. There's no right move because this game was rigged from the start. The goal was never love. It was control and consumption. And now, here you are grieving someone who never truly existed because the person you loved was a mask. And when the mask came off, the monster didn't even flinch. That's the deepest cut. Realizing you were in love with the version of them that they created just to hook you. But this isn't where your story ends. This is where it begins, because the switch-up wasn't a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of their emptiness. They change faces like clothes, and no one, not even you, could have saved them from themselves. What you must understand is this: their detachment is not your deficiency. It's their dysfunction. They didn't stop loving you because you failed. They stopped pretending because the mask couldn't hold any longer. That's not love lost. That's truth uncovered. So now it's time to stop chasing closure from someone who benefits from your confusion. It's time to see the switch-up not as abandonment, but as revelation. The illusion broke, and now you're free, not from love, but from the lie. You don't need them to return to explain. You don't need one last apology. What you need now is you, the real you, the version of you that is rising from this wreckage with eyes wide open. Because you're not just surviving, you're waking up. The instant replacement, you were never enough because they needed a new supply. The moment you begin to process the ending, you see it. That new partner, a sudden engagement, smiling photos, a fairy tale unfolding online that looks suspiciously like the one they promised you, but they're not just moving on. They're performing your replacement in real time. This isn't coincidence. It's a calculated display. Narcissists don't end relationships to heal or reflect. They leap. They don't pause to grieve. You were a supply, not a soul to them. And when the old supply runs dry, the new one is showcased like a trophy. You think, was I that easy to replace? But that question is rooted in pain, not truth. You were never the problem. You were the placeholder for their ego. And now someone else is filling the slot, not because they're better, but because they're new. That person is being loved, bombed just like you were. They're being showered with attention and praise, but behind the scenes, the script hasn't changed. The narcissist is performing Act 1 of the same toxic cycle, and you already know how this play ends. This quick switch isn't love, it's survival. The narcissist cannot be alone. Without someone to worship them, they lose their sense of identity, so they move on fast, not because they're over you, but because they're empty. They fill that emptiness with people, with praise, with illusion, but the worst part, the new supply becomes their weapon. They flaunt them to trigger you. They say things like, "I've finally found real love," or "They understand me in ways you never did." These aren't just words, they're emotional warfare. It's designed to make you doubt every moment you shared. It's crafted to make you feel disposable. And if you're not grounded in truth, you'll believe it. You'll internalize the lie that says, you weren't good enough, smart enough, sexy enough. But that's the story they want you to believe. The truth. You were too real for someone who lives in a mask. Too honest for someone who fears truth. Too emotionally intelligent for someone who manipulates emotion. That's not rejection. That's incompatibility with deception. Don't envy the new person. They're not chosen. They're next. They're not loved. They're being consumed, and eventually they too will see the mask slip. They too will be discarded. You are not watching a fairy tale. You are watching the beginning of someone else's nightmare. So instead of asking why you weren't enough, start asking why you stayed so long in a place that required you to shrink. Ask why their love had conditions. Ask why their affection came with punishment. Ask how someone could claim to love you and dehumanize you in the same breath. You weren't replaced, you were released. Released from the performance, the confusion, the manipulation, and the only thing you've lost is the illusion. What you have now is reality, and with that reality comes power. Let the narcissist perform, let them pose, let them pretend, because the game doesn't end when they move on. It ends when you do, when you rise, when you heal, when you stop explaining your worth to someone who was blind to it from the start. The victim flip, they make you the villain. This one hits the soul like a wrecking ball. After all the sacrifices, all the loyalty, all the tears you shed trying to hold the relationship together, you are suddenly the bad guy. You blink, and somehow you become the one who's selfish. You become the one who was impossible to love. You become the reason it all collapsed. This tactic is what I call the victim flip. It's when the narcissist walks away from the relationship, but not quietly. No, they leave in flames, pointing fingers, rewriting the story so they can walk away spotless, and leave you buried under the blame. They project their guilt onto you like a mirror. Everything they did, they now say you did. If they lied, they'll say you were deceptive. If they cheated, they'll accuse you of being untrustworthy. If they abandoned you emotionally, they'll claim you were too needy. It's a full-blown psychological inversion, and it's brutal. Because now you're not just dealing with heartbreak. You're defending your name, your character, your truth. You're stuck in a war you never asked for. A trial without a courtroom, a sentence without justice, and the jury. It's everyone they've manipulated with their false victim narrative. You start to question your own reality. Did I really do that? Was I too much? Maybe I overreacted. This self-doubt is not weakness. It's the echo of emotional warfare. It's the residue of being gaslit for too long by someone who turned your kindness into a weapon. The narcissist needs to flip the story. Why? Because if they admit the truth, that they sabotaged, manipulated, or emotionally abandoned you, it would unravel their entire false self. And they protect that false self with everything they have, including your reputation. They'll cry on cue. They'll tell half-truths with dramatic flair. They'll act like they were the one who tried so hard, who held on until they just couldn't anymore. And they'll do it with such conviction that people believe them. And that's the part that tears your soul apart. But here's what you must never forget. The truth doesn't need validation. It doesn't need an audience. It stands even when it's whispered, even when it's buried, even when you're the only one who knows it. You do not need to prove your pain to people who weren't there when it happened. Let the narcissist tell their story. You don't have to play a role in their fantasy anymore. You're not the villain in this story. You're the one who woke up. You're the one who endured. You're the one who tried to love someone who only knew how to use. And the greatest revenge, it's not exposing them. It's not screaming your truth into a deaf world. It's reclaiming yourself. It's rising from the ashes of their projection and walking forward with clarity, dignity, and power. Don't chase justice in their playground. Don't stoop to their tactics. The truth has its own timing. You don't need to manufacture vindication. It will come, and when it does, the silence will speak louder than their smear campaigns ever could. The victim flip is a distraction. Don't fight it. Don't try to fix the narrative. Just exit the stage and build a life that doesn't need their validation. Your healing is your justice, and your peace, that's your power. The slow fade when they kill the connection quietly. Not all narcissists and relationships with fireworks. Some end it with whispers, with silence, with avoidance, with absence. They don't leave dramatically. They fade slowly, coldly, carefully, until one day you realize you've been ghosted in your own relationship. This is the most insidious tactic because it leaves no clear wound, no obvious betrayal, just distance, just confusion, just an ever-widening gap where love used to live. They stop answering texts. They stop showing up emotionally. They stop investing, but they never say it's over. And that silence becomes your prison. You wait. You reach out. You ask questions they refuse to answer. You make excuses for them. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe they just need space. But deep down, you feel it. They're already gone. The slow fade is designed to wear you down, to make you walk away first so they never have to say the words, so they can tell people it just didn't work out. Or worse, they left me. It's cowardice disguised as indifference. It's manipulation wrapped in stillness. You begin to doubt your instincts. You wonder if you're overreacting. But this slow withdrawal is intentional. It's meant to confuse you into submission. They want you to chase, to beg, to perform for scraps. And when you do, they get to feel powerful again without doing a thing, and the longer it drags on, the more you shrink. Your voice gets quieter, your needs become negotiable, your spirit begins to bend, and that's exactly what they want. Not closure, not connection, control. Even in their absence, they want to dictate your Emotions, the slow fade keeps you emotionally tethered to a ghost. You're haunted by someone who's physically there but spiritually gone. It's abandonment without accountability. It's emotional starvation while sitting at a table that looks full. But hear this, you don't need a grand betrayal to justify your pain. You don't need a clear ending to start a new beginning. Their silence is an answer. Their distance is the truth. You are not imagining this. You're experiencing the unraveling of a bond that was always conditional. This is your permission to walk away, even if they never officially ended things, even if they never gave you a reason, even if you never got the closure, because sometimes the most powerful closure is choosing yourself without their permission. You don't need to wait for the fade to finish. You can cut the cord. You can reclaim your voice. You can stand up and say, "This is not what I deserve. This is not love. This is not connection. I will not wait for someone to stop disappearing. I choose to rise now." So walk away from the slow death of your spirit. Walk away from the emotional starvation. Walk away from the ghost. You are not too much. You are not impossible to love. You were just never meant to live your life dimmed by someone who couldn't handle your light. You're not abandoned. You're being called back to yourself, back to your worth, back to your power, and this time, you're not waiting for someone to choose you. You're choosing yourself fully, completely, and without apology. Rising from the ashes they left you in, you've seen the games. You've felt the lies. You've lived through the emotional violence that wasn't loud, but it was lethal. Whether they discarded you like you meant nothing, blamed you for everything they caused, or disappeared in silence while you screamed inside, the result is the same. They walked away with your heart still bleeding in their hands. But here's what I need you to hear right now, deep in your soul. You survived what was meant to destroy you. They ended the relationship dirty because they never had the courage to love clean. They couldn't leave with dignity because they lived without integrity. They exited like cowards because that's who they've always been underneath the mask. Terrified, insecure, hollow shadows of real connection. They didn't leave you because you weren't worthy. They left you because they could never reach the level of your soul. And if that's where you are right now, aching, shattered, confused, let me tell you, you are not broken. You are breaking through. You see, narcissists don't destroy you by accident. They are attracted to light, your light. They seek out power, empathy, warmth, depth, and spirit because they have none of it on their own. They feed off you like parasites, because your authenticity terrifies them and your love exposes their fraud. But they forgot something vital, something fierce, something they never counted on. They forgot that you were never meant to stay on your knees. Yes, they tried to reduce you, to silence your voice, to gaslight your memories, to paint you as the villain in the story you bled to keep alive. But that was the last illusion, because now you wake up. Now you see, now you rise. This is the rebirth. This is the fire that doesn't consume you. It forges you. You don't need closure from them. You are the closure. You don't need their apology to heal. You're healing because you finally said no more. No more shrinking to make them feel big. No more begging someone who stopped seeing your soul. No more twisting yourself into versions they would never love anyway. They ended it dirty, but you finish it powerful. You walk away with your head high, not because it didn't hurt. Oh, it did. But because pain doesn't get the final word, you do. Because the pain was the teacher, but you are the graduate. Let them smear you. Let them ghost you. Let them tell their lies. The truth has gravity. It will find its way through every room they walk into. You don't have to chase vindication. You embody it by existing, healing, and thriving in a way that makes their tactics irrelevant. From this moment on, you reclaim your worth, your fire, your voice. Not to prove anything to them, but to prove everything to yourself. You are not the abandoned. You are not the discarded. You are not the forgotten. You are the one who got away. You are the one who woke up. You are the one who rose, and the future that's waiting for you, it doesn't look like the past. It's bolder. It's brighter. It's built on truth, wholeness, and unshakable self-respect. They tried to end you, but they only ended their access to you. Now the spotlight is back where it belongs, on your healing, on your rising, on your unstoppable comeback. This is your new beginning. Burn the bridge, close the door, and never look back.